Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to the 2020 Dallas CIO Executive Leadership Summit virtual meeting. I'm Hunter Muller, lead principal of HMG Strategy. My team and I are delighted to be here with you today. Excited. I think we have a world-class agenda, a world-class program set for you today. And we welcome your engagement throughout the day through the chat button. Simply by pressing on the chat button and asking questions, we'll filter those questions up to the top and make today really lively and engaging. So, wow, what a difference 1 month makes, right? We're all living now in unprecedented times, probably the biggest crisis that we've all ever gone through in our lifetimes. Hopefully the last time we have to go through such a serious crisis on a global pandemic level. We have, again, three world-class thought leader and experts up front that'll be addressing you in 2 and 3 10-minute segments, and then a world-class panel followed right thereafter. So what we're doing today at HMG is we're pivoting. We're doing things very differently. We're thinking differently. We're leading differently in our industry. And hopefully today's platform, today's content, today's experience really helps elevate your thought process around leading, innovating, transforming, helping you reimagine, reinvent your strategies and how you manage through the crisis. Moving along, folks, we couldn't do what we do at HMG over the past 13 years without incredible support from what I would call leading tier 1, A1 partners and sponsors. Sponsors for our physical summit, which was to be held today, I believe our 12th annual, which will be scheduled for early July. Hopefully you'll make it in person. Our Nutanix, Ring Central, SMC Squared, and Zendesk, Platinum Partners Softtech, Gold Partners Acera, Appian, Aptio, Infotech, Numerify, Reddy Lab, and Trailblazer DataStax. Of course, we do this all in association with NPower and our friends at the Dallas-Fort Worth Sim, where we've had a great partnership rolling now for some 12 plus years. When you think about what we're going through today, right, we're all we're put in a position where we really have to creatively act in a crisis moment and lead courageously, lead passionately, lead authentically, helping instill confidence in our teams, ensuring that the direction, the roadmap that you're on, that everyone's safe, secure, and that you're effectively helping the business deal with the various wide range of issues that come up real time, 24/7, 365. No doubt we're working around the clock. At HMG, we are too. Reimagining and reinventing the summit model with today's summit, virtual briefings, webinars, and a whole myriad of a stack of services that we'll be launching here in the next 30 days as we reimagine and reinvent how to help you elevate your career, elevate your performance, elevate your teams for success in these trying times. A quick snapshot of some upcoming programs: virtual briefing with Kevin Haskew on CIO, a webinar with UiPath and Brandon Knott, Senior Vice President at PwC, virtual meeting with New Jersey, virtual summit meeting with New Jersey next week, virtual briefing with Sangi Vasta, Executive Vice President, CIO of Comerica Bank, and a virtual briefing with Bhavani Amarathilan, Senior Vice President, CDO at Amarin, coming up, folks, and then Okta following. But we'll be planning this out in the next 90 days, and we plan to continue this digital access in a digital marketplace. More to come on that later. First up, I'd like to welcome Gary Sorrentino. Gary is the CIO and Advisor, Office of the CIO at Zoom. Gary, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Excited to have you here today. So, I see we have over 160 folks online. Gary, give us the update. You're talking to clients now on a global basis. No doubt Zoom is on the forefront of helping us all think differently, reimagine and reinvent how we work from home, how we team, how we communicate, how we think differently, the whole work style and lifestyle. What are the things that you're seeing, and how are you helping your clients?
So I think the first week, maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago, it was all about the enterprise. And so we worked very much with the CIOs across the world, trying to get their companies to be not remote workers, but virtual workers. You know, the difference was, I think all the companies had some sort of remote working, Sunday night, people doing mail, occasionally people doing home. But now this is full-time virtual work from home. And so I think the first week of this Be at Home was about that. In the second week, it changed a little bit because a lot of people like yourself have a lot of physical events and they wanted to make them virtual. I've been working with a lot of people around the world on how to take their standard virtual events and how to make them, their standard physical events and how to make them virtual, all for social good. And these things are coming across. We're talking about them on Monday and they're doing them on Thursday, all right, maybe on Wednesday. And it's been a great challenge and for social good, and it's been really good. We're adding a lot of value. Then I noticed small businesses are now figuring out, how do I get my gym online? How do I get my bar online? How do I do a trivia online? Give people content. How do we do a small play, single scene play online? And then the people started driving in, right? We've had, what is it? Zocktails. You know, there's, I myself met with my peers every Wednesday night. Sometime we went for a glass of red wine and a cigar. We still do it Wednesday night. We just do it over Zoom or over a video conference now. So I've seen a lot of changes over the last 3 weeks.
Gary, you strike me as an individual, we've known each other for some time now, as a great communicator in person, and you really make people feel comfortable with you at a senior level. What are some of the nuances in communicating on digitally through a PC, a laptop, across the Zoom platform? What are some of the nuances and tips, subtle tips that can help us all be more effective at engendering trust, storytelling, communicating, connecting with broad audiences? Just randomly, how do you coach people through that process?
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of people about how to present virtually, right, digitally, because is it a little different, right? It's not about pacing back and forth on the stage. It's all about this. It's all about the, for some of us older people, the max headroom view, it's about not wearing certain clothes, trying to make sure that you don't pixelate when you're online, making sure that you have the right lighting. I worked with one CEO. He said, I have to present to my whole staff, but I pace and I stand. I said, well, no one said you can't stand. So I showed him how to present, but I said, you have to remember, you're the cameraman, you're the audio guy. So he calls me up the next day and he says, it went well, but I kept moving off a camera. And I said, well, think about when you're on stage. If you look down, there's tape lines on the stage to tell you don't go out of camera. I said, yeah, put tape lines on your rug. And he went, oh yeah, that's a great idea. So what's happening is we have to teach people you're the presenter. There is no one going to put that slideshow up there. That's you. You're going to share. And if you share your speaker notes rather than your slide, well, everybody's going to see your speaker notes. It's okay today if the kid interrupts. It's okay if there's a noise in the background. We are working from home. Right? And over the last couple of weeks, people have tried to improve. They've gotten better cameras, better lighting, as they've been doing this more and more. But I think the one thing I'm telling people is people want to hear compassion. People want to hear stories. They want to hear what's going on, not like the traditional presentation. Like for yours, I used to do digital workplace and culture and things like that. Probably inappropriate now. More about to say, you asked the perfect question. What are people doing? How are people staying connected? I have this one work group. They worked in a corporation. These 4 people had cubes next to them for the last 10 years. What they do is every morning they open up a call with those 4 people and they just talk to each other as if they're at work. And when one says, I'm going for coffee, they all go for coffee. So it's all about connecting with people on a level that they want to be connected at through stories.
Well, think about that. Let's punch down that, because that's the personal side, and I think we cover it really well here at HMG. It's a real headline, right? That not a lot of forums are talking about this openly and freely. All of a sudden, you go from 168 hours in a work week, you're part of it 60 to 80, you're out of the house. And now 168, you're in the house. And 10 or 12 of it are probably, you're thinking about work and trying to shut down work. So there's some gates. When do you start? When do you turn it off fully? Right? And as you work through building your teams and through this crisis moment, what part, give us an idea of work balance, life, family balance when we're working from home, and some parameters, some lessons learned that you've had.
All right, so I'm a bad example because my work-life balance is 80-20, 80 work. It's been kind of incredible that from the time you get up until the time you go to bed, there's somebody calling you or talking to you. And I know I'm on the Zoom side and we're really busy now, but at the end of the day, most of the people I talk to is you get this kind of mail. Hey, can we meet Saturday at 10? But that's not a business day. Yeah, what else are you doing? And you know what? A lot of people are looking for those diversions during the day to get an hour away from the family. Now, on the other side, a lot of them are spending a lot of quality time with the kids and there's self-learning going on. We recently enabled schools to do this. So people, I think, are finally starting to get back to a little bit of a structure where I'll get online at 8 o'clock and then I'll try to get off, at a normal rate and maybe walk away. And some of the best practices we've been telling people is sometimes you have to walk away. I've spent more time in front of this 27-inch monitor than in any part of my career in front of a computer. It's been one after the other, and that's the way I'm communicating with the world. But I think people are now starting to pull back and going, from 12 to 1, I'm going to leave the screen and I'm going to go to lunch. I'm going to spend 15 minutes in the afternoon with the kids when they get out of school, which means they just go from their computers to the living room to make noise. Right.
Very good. Very true. So talk to us a little bit about Zoom. What a unique time for you all as a company. I saw a soundbite on the wire this morning, 20x increase of usage year over year, March from 2019 to 2020.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy at Zoom, I can tell you that. We are keeping up with the volume and the capacity. That's the good part about it. More and more people are trying to use Zoom. We've been working with schools. We're very proud of that. We've been teaching teachers how to actually give virtual classes and CEOs how to talk on large webinars and things like that. Here's what I love about it right now. Now we're in the stage where people are going beyond just what we're talking about today and getting creative, right? Like the gym doing virtual classes, like the bars deciding to do virtual Trivia Pursuit and giving out $25 certificates. So when the bars open up again, they can go there. And so I think I'm really proud of everybody being creative with it. I also am very proud that Zoom is able to keep families connected. I know I meet with my mom and my family members a couple of times a day, right? I want to see them, right? I think we need to see that more and more, and Zoom's enabling that, right? And so I think that part's great. And so we're in that stage now where most people have figured out some sort of virtual business, but a lot of people are also saying, I need to use this more to connect with family and friends. The teledoctor thing is perfect, right? They're able to diagnose people at home. They're able to take care of people at home and check in on them, things like that.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary. When you think about it, we got a couple minutes here to go to close it up. Some winning ideas around how to build a winning culture in the enterprise with the platform of Zoom. Any ideas there that you want to share with us?
Yeah. So now that we're a couple weeks in, people have shared some stuff. One of the things is every call doesn't have to be a Zoom call, right? There's still ways to communicate. Everybody likes the novel idea of connecting on video, but eventually we have to go back to, in our normal workday, we connected by email. In our normal workday, we connected by chat and things like that. The Zoom call is quick, it's easy, push a button, people are talking. And now I see people slowly starting to get back to traditional ways, emails picking up, chats picking up and things like that. And now the video conference becomes one of the tools like before. It takes a lot out of your day to be on 8 or 9 or 10 video conferences, right? So I think I slowly see some of the corporations settling back on normal needs because now the needs of their clients are important and we have to get back to a normal business, although we are home.
Gary, it was really a great pleasure to have you on the program today at the summit. Thank you so very much. We hope to see you live in person in Dallas in July.
I hope to be there on stage with a brand new presentation, right, and being there physically. So thank you very much for inviting me, right? Please, everybody stay safe.
Great. Say hello to Harry and to Eric. Eric's probably one of the more genius, brilliant CEOs of our time.
I will. Take care.
Great. Thanks.
Bye.
Excellent. Great presentation. Thank you so much, Gary. Really appreciate Zoom's partnership and the platform. You really, my son is actually on Zoom right now, doing schoolwork from home. Brilliant. So folks, next up is Wendy Fiber. Wendy's a dear friend from the Valley. She's the global CIO for Nutanix, one of the darling companies out of the Valley that's really driven incredible value for the enterprise with hyper-converged infrastructure. She's a tremendous leader, a visionary individual, a great friend of HMG's and the HMG platform. Wendy, great to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule. So what's on your mind today? What are you thinking about? How are you leading through these times? And how are you leading into the business, the C-suite, and leading your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I appreciated so much what Gary said about just connecting more with our humanity and, pausing for a moment to be the human beings that we are. And yesterday afternoon, I took a little time out and I wrote a blog about just how I was feeling. And I posted that. It didn't have anything about technology. It was just my sadness, my fears, my thoughts. And I'll tell you, I had so many people, like crazy amounts of human beings reaching out to say, just thank you for being real. And now I have a question about something technical. And I think that's happening everywhere, that as we're interacting around our communities, we're leading with other things, and then there's something technical. And that's a new sport for some of us who are, the typical nerds, the typical technologists, wouldn't normally go out of our comfort zone to talk about our feelings first. But it's also an opportunity for us to learn more about how to make our products and our tools and our services more relevant and more useful. And the big thing I'm experiencing in every aspect of my life right now is this confluence of consumer technology and enterprise technology. At a minimum, we're using home computers, we're using monitors, displays, keyboards, whatever. We're using home networks. Some of us didn't have an opportunity to bring computers home, so we're maybe using a mobile device to do all of the interacting and all of the work that we were doing before in these controlled environments. And so for me, that's very exciting, but we also get to see side by side some of the advances that have happened in the world of consumer tech and consumer apps as compared to, the world of enterprise. And I love my job. I get to be in a company where I can push the envelope in terms of using modern technology. But I'll tell you, the real stars right now are the modern tech, the consumer-oriented tech platforms and tools that folks are using today. They just stand up well in these home environments. Everything from having, Zoom's video codec is optimized for all kinds of environments and all kinds of internet bandwidth and so on. So we're seeing that. We're also seeing the confluence of some challenges or maybe just a realization in the world in terms of how this consumer technology works. It's fascinating to me, all the conversation that we're having right now around people's concerns around Zoom security. And yet people are accessing Zoom from browsers on their smartphones that they've never even one time used in private mode. And so I think it's an interesting moment of us just getting our heads around how do things work over internet and what are our personal responsibilities. And, in the same ways that we've optimized our consumer tech experiences, we have that responsibility for our enterprise and IT experiences as well.
Thank you, Wendy. What a great opening. You always bring us all here to the HMG network down to a different grounded reality. And so here's a kind of a softball for you. I mean, doesn't this bring you to a point in time where you're grateful for everything you have in your life, your health, your well-being, friends, family, the path you've chosen on your professional ascent and your own success and your success of colleagues and peers and your team? And it doesn't give you a feeling like the opportunity for us right now to accelerate our profession and thought leadership? There's a unique point in time that we can really capitalize on. What would you suggest there?
So you're going to make me cry, which is like not what I want to do, man. Yes, I love this profession. IT, right? We're the technologists who love process. We're the nerds who love operational excellence. We're that combination of those things. And so now's the time when how we work is exposed, when our profession is laid out for the world to see, not just the technical architecture, but the operational architecture and expertise that we've built. And so you think about the challenges, the immediate challenges and pressures on, the operational sides of our profession, our business continuity plans, our scale out architecture, even our cost models, allowing us to flexibly pivot, having choice and having good integration and security is another big one. All of those things, they're not pure tech. They're not what just a pure engineer would do. This is quiet work we've done, often work we've done with potentially not enough funding or potentially not as a top priority, which suddenly is the most important thing. And so what does that require of us as leaders? I will tell you, there was a wave of everyone I knew saying, thank you so much. And then there was a wave of everyone I knew asking, how do you do this little thing or that little thing? I called it the death by 1,000 cuts phase of people adopting technology at home. And now, suddenly, people are asking my opinion. Leaders in my company and the companies where I sit on the board and outside are asking, tell us about leadership. Tell us about character. Tell us about business and how business scales. Tell us about operational excellence and why that's important. And personally, I've always tried to live in that space in between, and I've always tried to talk about those things. But I will say it's the first time that people have cared what IT thinks about that, and I'll say it's about time. It's about time that's happening, but also in these moments, our message, even about character, about transparency, flexibility, capacity planning, frugality, faithfulness, freedom and choice, those character traits now need to be writ large in our technical expression of the things we deliver to our companies and our customers, as well as in the way we personally show up. And so, man, that's hard. It's hard to lead that way when, in the background, a couple of things might be breaking. We're worried about where we're going to get that next round of capacity. I have a daily couple of cycles where I am the crankiest, bitchiest human you can imagine. We've got things going on in the background. All those things are happening, and yet we're called to be people of character and to be authentic. And so, we're the ones who have always blended those things with technology, but now there's a spotlight on us, and it's cool and it's hard.
How exciting, Wendy. So we got about a minute left. Just some parting thoughts, Wendy, about leadership and courage, and when you know you need to lean in and push through something in that lonely moment when you go through that envelope. What are you thinking about at that point?
Quite honestly, first, my faith, my spiritual practice, I rely on those things more. After that, I'm thinking about structure, probably for lots of reasons, but structure comforts me, and it also allows me to make progress. And so everything these days, whether it's our schedule for the family or whether it's helping people to work, everything these days is around structure for me, and exposing that structure and making it real and accessible. Keying off of what Gary said, I've asked each of my global team members to declare their workday hours and to post those and to use our calendaring tools and so on to show when they're available and when they're not. We can only do it a week at a time, but that's a very important thing because what I've said is, look, you don't have to be available in your previous work hours at all, but you do have to be available, let's say 8 to 10 hours a day. So for some folks, maybe that's 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., with then a healthy break in the middle to do homeschooling, and then 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. But you know what? If that's when they can truly show up and do work and be available, then we need to accommodate that. The technology accommodates that, but now how we interact with each other, how we book meetings, how we share information has to accommodate that too. And really, that's the key to having successful global teams. And so we're learning about that at high speed.
Wendy, thank you so much for joining us today. We're at the end of our segment. You always deliver. It gets better and better every time we're together. Thank you so much. A real treat, a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye now. Next up is our Leading in Crisis panel session. Nikki, could you please bring our panelists into view? Thank you very much. So guys, a little context as the panelists get spun up here. And then I guess I'm going to assume, Nikki, that the panelists are all in view. I can't see. I see Rusty. I see Nellson. I don't have the others yet. Maybe they are in full view. Okay, Chris and Neelu, great, excellent. You know, just a little side note about Dallas and my friends in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I remember as we were migrating across the country, opening up markets in 08, 09, 2010, and I remember talking to John Phillips in Chicago, and John says, well, you got to talk to the guys down in Dallas, and he made the introduction to the Dallas team, along with Andrew Jackson, John Cole, yourself, Nellson, and others, Kevin Christ and others. We created the Dallas Summit some really 10 or 12 years ago. And now, happy to say, we're digital, right? We're wall-to-wall digital, our first digital experience together. I feel like you guys are incredible friends of mine in the network, powerful economy. It's almost, Texas unto itself is perhaps one of the best states ever in the country to do business in, and most pro-business states out there. How have things been going? How has leading through crisis been going? And a little context. Nellson, you want to kick it off, start it off with kind of your role at Dial and in context, how have you led over the past 3 weeks?
It's been a very interesting time in my career, one that you don't really prepare for. It's, you know, for us at Daltile, it's you know, we're still moving, right? We've got 10,000 employees, all of whom want to keep a paycheck. And so we're trying to do that in the safest manner we can. And, you know, IT has played a big role in that in the last several weeks.
Excellent. And when this all came abruptly on us some 28 days ago, what was your first reaction as it became a crisis, right? A crisis is real when it affects you, your family, your team, your work lifestyle. What was your first kind of go-to?
Well, you know, this one hit pretty close to home. I don't know, I haven't shared with everybody here, but my wife was diagnosed with COVID-19, got that result back a couple weeks ago. And so it's taken a little bit more of a personal twist. I think, you know, because of the personal experience we were going through, I was probably a little ahead of some of my peers at Daltile and at Mohawk in terms of understanding the gravity of the situation and what needed to be done to stop that. And so, you know, I really loved Snehal's slide about dictator versus enabler in a conflict. You know, early on in this crisis, you know, I had an ethical dilemma of, you know, I knew we needed to send my team home. was getting some mandates that we couldn't do that yet. And so, really just had to push back until we all got on the same page. But it's, anyway, that slide of dictator versus enabler in a crisis, I think kind of summed up that crisis for us. So it's been personally challenging, but it's also been a great time for us to reconnect with family, to connect with our coworkers in different ways, and change things like how we've done HMG for 12 years now.
Right. Nellson, our hearts go out to you and your family. We hope that she has a speedy recovery and everyone's safe and sound. We'll come back to that notion around leading in a crisis, leading how you had to push through the C-suite to get that shift done. So next up, why don't we go over to Chris Gates from Global CTO of Allstate. Chris, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Hunter. Thanks for pulling us together today. I know when we talked about this topic, my goodness, probably 3 or 4 months ago before the crisis, it was an interesting topic, but I can't think of a better topic now with everything going on, and super excited to be part of the panel. As a CTO of Allstate, similar to Nellson, we're focusing very heavily on not only our end users. We've got about 100,000 Allstate employees and agents around the United States that depend every day on what we provide to be able to do their job. So we've been focusing very heavily on them. And also we've been focusing a lot on our customers as well, as you can imagine. In a time of crisis like this, they're looking for a sense of calm and clarity around what this means to them and their families as they incur additional risks, whether it's in the life insurance or any of the other policies that we are out there. So depending heavily on technology now and using technology different has just been an amazing journey for us. And I know Wendy talked about during her time that the business units who we've always been strong partners with are looking at us as change agents now. They really are looking for that thought leadership to think differently. So we have an obligation to step into that role for our organization and our teams. And I think it's been an exciting step for us during this period of time.
You've had a fascinating background, including GE, and in your current role, you really have shifted the whole company to a technology company, truly a technology innovative enabled company, right?
Yeah, Hunter, it's been an amazing journey for Allstate. And I inherited a lot of the roadmap that we're taking on now and been blessed to be able to accelerate it. But our industry is changing. Our industry is changing from the traditional insurance platforms and programs that everybody would know, where you're insuring assets, you're insuring a Mercedes, a home, whatever it may be, an asset. And there's traditional algorithms that help you determine that. They've been around for years, highly regulated. What's happening now is people want to insure an experience. And when I say we're shifting from an asset to an experience is a 10-minute Uber ride from Chicago O'Hara or Dallas DFW to Grapevine. That the platform behind that is us. And we're able to iterate and drive innovation into industry because of the platforms we have in place in the technology and how we're able to compete in the marketplace, where others are taking a little bit longer to get there. We're winning business in the market because of our ability to adapt.
Sounds like you inherited part of the roadmap. What was the challenge to extend it? And it's fascinating because it's so different or out of the ordinary.
I think the process to extend it was really, and you mentioned a little bit about the background. I've been blessed with several years at GE, and I did a rotation at Under Armour where I learned at Under Armour was a little bit different than most of us are trained, right? We read books like Fail Fast and be a little bit more adventurous. At a company like Under Armour, it's full speed mistakes. And full speed mistake is different than failing fast. I mean, it is being bold, it is being brilliant, it's being non-apologetic about what we're doing. And for me, it was coming in from an outsider's perspective and really seeing the asset we had from 9 labs around the world and a tremendous set of talent that was extremely capable. They didn't know how good they were. And for me, it was becoming, an advocate, a zealot, a cheerleader, just someone that really gave them the confidence to accelerate through the curve and take some chances. And I got to be honest, they exceeded my expectations on all occasions.
One little nuance, your relationship with the C-suite and the CEO, how did that evolve and where does it come to?
So the CEO, we're blessed with a very tech savvy CEO. He spends a lot of time, in large events like some of the events that are held in Vegas around technology. He sees the industry different, going beyond, like I said, even experiences into different worlds, like ensuring social media presence, ensuring identities, ensuring that as we look at the Internet of Things, sensors, how do we detect the identity of a sensor to make sure a sensor is a sensor? It is who it says it is. These are easy conversations to have with him. And when you get on the whiteboard, a half-hour meeting becomes a 2-hour think tank session. And my goodness, you leave with commander's intent for sure. And you got clear mission and coverage that you need to go do what you need to do. So we're fortunate.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you, Chris. We'll be back to you here in a few minutes. Next up, Rusty Kennington, CIO of Corsicana Mattress Company. Hey, Rusty, welcome.
Thanks, Hunter. Glad to be here.
Great to see you. Boy, you look great, man. Tell us what's going on in the mattress world and how you handling this whole crisis. This is off the charts, right?
It is. It was already a very disrupted industry, as any consumer knows, with all the upstarts like Casper and those things. And so we've been in full battle mode, and the battle just found another gear. It's been interesting, but the interesting response to that has been our CEO, and just like I'm blessed, just like Chris is, in a very tech-savvy CEO who's not afraid to move quickly. And so we've gone from really B2B, providing retailers with bulk deliveries and things like this, to opening up new avenues for them to address this new consumer that doesn't necessarily want to go into a store anymore, even more so than they were already doing. And so we are now offering new services to kind of get out and win some of those opportunities by being faster than our competitors. And so we're actually doing direct ship to consumers based on purchases they'll make off of one of our retailers' websites, for example.
Okay, excellent. So in the past 21 to 28 days, you've been reimagining and reinventing how to go to market and how to pivot, right?
Oh yeah, it's, I think I didn't really get the seriousness of it at first, but I made the move to just, once I knew that my team could support every aspect of our business, regardless of where they were, I gave my leaders the discretion to send the teams home. My suggestion was to do it, but I let them lead and determine to do it. They all did that. And I let HR know that we were doing it, that I had made the call. And HR came out of just days later, but that was their intent. And so they made, they fully blessed it and made the move as well. So we're very lucky that we were there, and I'm blessed with the team that I've got that were already out there from a technology standpoint. So we had a call center could go home and handle calls with that platform. So from a technology standpoint, we were able to pivot. And now it's just, we're in the battle of our lives right now.
Hey, Rusty.
How would you characterize your leadership style, Rusty?
I think certainly the enabler style. I'm not a micromanager. I believe it is absolutely our job, our opportunity to bring in capable people, coach them, make sure they're connected to the outcome, and let them run. Keep an eye and make sure that no one's going off the rails, but they'll make better decisions than I would 9 times out of 10.
Great. And what have you learned what are the lessons learned that you've experienced over those 28 days? What have you really said, wow, I had no idea, and we did this, and this is what I learned?
I think, we're learning all over the place. We had made some assumptions with regard to the business model, and we were kind of pivoting on those. We had some assumptions in our supply chain, like a lot of people, and we're adapting quickly to mitigate risk on that. I think the people side, though, is what surprised me the most. You know, and I'm definitely an extrovert. I love being around people, and that's where I get my energy. And I miss it, but I didn't even realize how much I missed it until we did. And it was actually one of my leaders, Aaron Rundle, who organized a team happy hour. You know, I was thinking it was probably going to be pretty awkward. You know, everyone's sitting there with their own drink and looking at each other and everything. It was awesome. It was so much better than I imagined it possibly could be, and it meant a lot to everybody. It was really mind-blowing. It was great.
That's awesome. What a great comment or thought. Any fun games, tips, games that came out of it that made it more interesting and engaging?
You know, I really look forward to learning from others on that. We didn't do anything like that, but we didn't talk about work at all. You know, it was almost an hour, and it was just laughing and being with each other. Nice. But I'd love to learn some ideas for some games. That'd be great. Take it to the next level.
HMG Virtual Happy Hour here tonight at 5 Eastern. So I'll give you some tips tomorrow.
Awesome.
Thank you. We'll be back to you in a minute there, Rusty. Neelu Sethi, Senior Vice President, CIO of Reddy Ice. Welcome to the program, Neelu. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Hunter, for having me. Really appreciate this, getting everyone together, and what a learning. Last 45 minutes have been just phenomenal already.
Well, I tell you what, I love you guys in Dallas. I love coming down to Dallas. So this is probably the second best thing to do, right? Maybe we could do it more often and be even better, but we're here virtually, you know, in consistent with the format. What are your thoughts on this the last month leading through this crisis? What have you learned, and what do you want to share with our audience here? We were over 200 people here earlier here today.
Yeah, Hunter, it's been incredible, right? In many ways, such an experience that no one saw it coming. And personally, quite frankly, I was in denial earlier on. When this was coming in, I'm like, there is no way. This is the social media really throwing things out of proportion. And for many days, I had to just keep the team going and saying this will all settle down. So I had to personally really pay attention to what was happening and what a learning, and then quickly learn to shift into a tough-minded optimism, as I call it. You know, raising the bar, understanding what's happening, leveraging the facts, but turning into a leader who is going into an overdrive of a communication. So I had to not only settle my head through it and understanding that, hey, this is here for real and it's not going to go away. You know, there is no way we can put our head away from this. So understanding there are people understanding their families who are being impacted, understanding that it's no more just about one state, one country, it's the world that's really turning into this nightmare. So it was a very interesting dynamic, and quite frankly, very quickly, I had to turn myself into creating that optimism and creating that positive layer, but at the same time, be prepared for the worst. Very quickly, I had to turn my team into a team. You got to lead from the front, which means we cannot deal with another crisis of this sort. What I think earlier Snehal touched upon it in terms of we cannot handle another IT outage or cybersecurity. So get all the acts together, but be communicating every detail, getting them together, getting them at the front, and enabling them and empowering them became my task, quite frankly. At the same time, I had to very quickly create a SWAT team, sort of a COVID IT SWAT team to enable the rest of the organizations. As you know, I work for a CPG business. Consumer product, a food product, is the necessary element right now through this. So figuring out who is our front line, while we are so blessed to see the drivers, the doctors and the nurses as the front line, our front line as drivers had to put everything at stake to get into the retail business, get into the grocery, making sure our packaged ice was there, always full, and was available for the consumers. We actually experienced 400% uptake in the grocery and retail channel and really diverting the technology to enable our frontline drivers. Kudos to them to make sure technology is not the hindrance for them. At the same time, we had to become super agile to ensure rest of the organization was ready to work remote. While we were blessed that we were already on the path of converting everything to cloud, and I had rolled out Microsoft Teams literally 2 months ahead of this crisis, so timing could not be perfect. The change management that happened with Microsoft Teams was overnight. Everyone got on it, but creating that SWAT team, giving them the direction, turning it into what's happening at the people level, what's happening at the personal level, what's happening within the company, but taking a step out of it, understanding what's happening in the industry per se, became another interesting event for me. As I focused on stabilizing and focus on surviving, I had to turn further and turn into a thriving. In other words, what are the new channels? Just like Rusty touched upon, our industry is going through such a big change. What are the new channels where we have to deliver ICE we never thought of before? As an example, nursing facilities and the senior citizen facilities and our healthcare hospitals, we were not delivering ICE through those channels. No one ever delivers ICE through Instacart or through Grubhub, and we had to start thinking about putting Instacart in play. Amazon integration, we were not thinking about earlier, so we really had to expedite some of the thinking and sort of a innovation component, which is amazingly changing our industry. But all this is happening at the pace that we never imagined, never prepared, but keeping the personal touch. And on the personal level, Hunter, it's interesting that, my sibling is in New York and staying close to what's going on in New York, and my parents who are dealing with existing health conditions are in India, and the entire country is in lockdown. So personally, there is lots going on. As Nellson shared his story, and it was humbling to hear that. Not only it's happening to us, but it's happening to every individual we are interacting with. So every story we are peeling, there are very humbling moments that are coming out. So this is more than ever, as Wendy touched upon, for the technology leaders, more than ever, the leadership matters the most at every level, not just within us as leaders, but every level within the companies. And that's what we are seeing. People are stepping up and really making a difference. So,
Neelu, that was a brilliant share there. Thank you so much. So much to dive in and unpack. When you had that first moment that you said, oh, I'm not in denial anymore, this is real. And then there's that open awareness moment. And then most people kind of just say, okay, and kind of muddle along. Many people pull back and get fearful. How did you know at that point it was time to lean in courageously with an open mind, an open heart, and lead courageously?
Absolutely. And I think when I realized that, I knew that I had to go in and mention that to my team. And actually, I opened up a dialogue with my team and shared that this is how I was feeling. But realizing, looking at the numbers, there is definitely a different phenomena going on. And I opened up the dialogue, and my team started sharing what each individual was dealing with. And that opening up communication and going into an overdrive of a communication opened up that this is real. And not only I have to figure out that how do I get out of this denial faster, I need to lead. And I'm very blessed that Reddy Ice leadership is, our CEO is very tech savvy, and immediately taking calls and reaching out to the CEO and saying, these are the things we need to be doing. This is what is happening. This is how technology can enable the rest of the organization. And our CEO was vibrating a little bit about the fact that our frontline drivers are out there. How do we continue to tell them to go deliver and be exposed, but rest of the organization can work from home? And it was a very passionate dialogue that happened with people in mind. And so having all of these dialogues, not only within myself, with my team, and then be able to have a dialogue with the leadership and driving to the decisions that we need to take so fast that we didn't have time to come back within a week. We had to come back within 30 minutes and take decisions. So decisiveness at the leadership is what made a difference across the board, but keeping people in the center of it, keeping lives in the center of it, keeping family, not only Reddy Ice family, but individual families in the center of it is how we drove our dialogue.
Excellent. Love it. Thank you very much. Great job. Back over to Nellson. Nellson, when you think about that same question, leaning in and leading courageously, when you all of a sudden realize that impact, that this is real, what were the thoughts in your mind at that moment, and how would you talk about the journey?
So, leaning in courageously, I guess, I think it was Rahm Emanuel who said, never waste a good crisis, right? This is an incredible opportunity for us. And I think somebody, Mark Wilson, in the comments, in the chat comments, comment on this as well, and others have mentioned, but it's a great opportunity for us, not just to elevate our position within the company, but also to redefine the way we do business. And I think from listening to Rusty, I think we have some parallels that we're going through right now. We're both in industries that have historically been very traditional, but have undergone a lot of disruption, and probably more so in the mattress industry than in tile and flooring. But what I'm finding is this opportunity is a great way for us to increase adoption of a lot of the mobile tools that we built in, a lot of the things like buy online, pick up in store, or online credit card, click on this link to pay now, making it easier to transact business, using our mobile point of sale solution to move our service center personnel outside to meet the customer outside. So for us, it was a really big opportunity to take what we've been working on the last 2 years from a digital transformation standpoint and apply that and have the business adopt that a lot more quickly. And Neelu pointed it out as well. It's not affecting all of our channels, our customer segments the same way. And so you've got to think through, home centers are actually doing pretty well for us right now. It's still a lot of people at Home Depot right now. But our dealer business is struggling. And so thinking of new channels potentially, or ways to grow your market share in a certain channel. Those are the things that, in addition to elevating the CIO position, I think all of us as company leaders, need to take this opportunity to think about that and think about, how we, when things go back to normal, how are they going to be different, right? So what will have changed for permanent?
Here's another build on that idea. What's inspiring you then to be all that you can be in your role? If you were to reflect on a professional mission, what motivates you in your current role and in helping reimagine, reinvent, and being that courageous leader with the business?
I get bored real easy, Hunter. So I like change, and I like a fast pace. And, if you get bored in a CIO job, you're not doing it right. And so for me, it's that constant challenge. And then the other part of it is just the people, talking with my people, trying to keep things going, but also, one of my direct reports has a sister that was on a ventilator in Belgium. And, another direct report has family that in India that are under quarantine. So, getting to know the people through this crisis, crisis can forge bond relationships. And so, that's another thing that's motivating me right now.
Nellson, really brilliant thoughts and items that I never knew about your whole thought process and how you go to market. Awesome stuff. I want to nominate you for one of the top 2021 HMG Tech Executives to Watch Award recognition program.
Thanks, Hunter.
Thank you. Chris, following up, same idea. What's inspiring you now to drive forward in your role, and what's next in the next 6 months once this hopefully stabilizes, right? We don't get a V bottom, we don't get a L bottom. Hopefully we get a U bottom, third and fourth quarter. Goldman Sachs is already talking about fourth quarter with a real steep incline. That spells to me opportunity for anyone who's in business.
Yeah, I think Nellson kind of hit on it. I think it's important for us to kind of take an inventory of our people. I think understanding that our team members are able to do 10x what we thought they were able to do, and they're bringing their hearts and minds into this type of situation. And I'm just imagining what can I do if I can inspire them in other ways, right? If I can be aspirational and tap into that same innovation that they're bringing. I'm wondering what innovation we're going to drive from that. And I'll tell you how I'm trying to do that in a back to basics kind of way. We talk about in this session leading through crisis, and you'll hear a lot of great stories from people on the panel. And I would second the nomination. I think Nellson would be a great candidate for a leader to be watching in 2021. But I tell you, I'm trying to focus more, as I'm hearing all of the panelists talk, about the individual contributor who's leading every day in what they're doing and how they're making decisions on the front lines. And what I found myself doing as I'm coaching and mentoring a lot of folks within my organization and elsewhere is this is an unprecedented time, and it's easy to say that, but it's not until you get your calendar out, and I'm encouraging people to do this, is my world changed on March 2nd. On the week of March 2nd, when we started to see this thing unfold and the subsequent weeks after, if you go back, or you have anyone you're coaching and mentoring, or anyone on today's session, and you go back and you do a calendar walk and kind of journal what happened at 8 a.m. What happened when you got the first phone call? What did you do? What did others do? Because what's happening is people are so busy actually responding. I don't think they actually understand what they're doing or the impact they're having. And when this is all over 3 months from now, it'll be a dream. You won't remember that one decision that kept you up at night at 3 a.m. that you had to make as an individual contributor in your apartment by yourself, staring at a computer, and there was no one else to lean on. But somehow you derived the courage and the imagination to make that call, and you communicated it somehow. And I think my attention over the next 3 months, Hunter, is how to make those individual contributors more confident, better leaders to lead in crises themselves, and then be able to bring that same sense of innovation and intuition into their day-to-day responsibilities.
You know, that the past three, all four of you, these are like incredible thoughts. A brilliant soundbite by Neelu, by Rusty, by Nellson, and yourself right there, Chris. It's leaning in the context of the crisis moment, and then to your point, that exercise of looking back and having a reflective mindset of how did I lead, and how do you make those decisions at 3 a.m, and then reimagine it and go in and implement it, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And I think along the way, I think it's going to help each of us who lead differently, who have different styles, introverted, extroverted, it doesn't matter. Everyone's succeeding, and they're navigating it in their own unique way. And I think that's something that they have to find out in themselves. And I think this journal exercise in this short amount of time, the last 6 weeks, I have what I call a river exercise. It's just an S on a piece of paper, positive things on the left, negative things on the right. And I segmented into 6 weeks. And I said, week 1, what happened? And I have them go through a session of thought stuff. And oftentimes they don't even remember some of the more critical decisions they made or that they observed others making. And that exercise kind of helps them capture their thoughts in such a way that they hopefully can do something with the information. And while I get value out of it, I really hope the ones that have gone through it with me got 10x the value that I got just in self-awareness and confidence in how to move forward.
You know, Chris, that's really a genius idea. Monica Caldas from Liberty Mutual was on the show a week ago, and we were talking about the idea of literally having your own bulletin board where you put post-it notes up on it with personal accountability so that you really reflect back and look at your roadmap, your S-curve, your river idea, and that exercise with your team is just genius as well. I want to nominate you as one of the top 2021 tech executives to watch in the HMG, on the HMG platform in our industry. So thank you for your sharing that. That's great. Let's appreciate it. Over to Rusty. Rusty, kind of any bills or thoughts? Where are you at right now?
Yeah, first off, love both nominations. Totally agree. And I'll be circling back with you, Chris, on that river model thing. I want to really see how you use it. I love that idea. You know, I haven't been really looking back too much. I've been part of my job is the here and now, and then really trying to skate to where the puck's going to be. I think whether that when the economy responds, and make sure that, you know, that if we've got any Band-Aids left in our processes, that we're ready to go full speed, and things like that. I think the one comment I'd like to leave with is I was realizing my own blind spot. You know, as we get into something of this magnitude, you know, you hunker down mentally, physically sometimes, and I mentioned this in our call yesterday, but one of the groups that's kind of been invisible in my mind, and I think it's probably true for many on the call, is a group that'll also be kind of fall victim to this virus thing. And this is college students. You know, I think that this whole notion of the internship, it's an opportunity for us to pivot a bit like this. And so we were just going to cancel internships. I'm sure most companies at least had them on hold, because who's going to be in the office? And I think that the opportunity for us collectively, and everybody on the call, if you've got the ability to do something like this, we've all gotten to where we've gotten in life because along the way, people gave us an opportunity, took a chance on us. And I think that there's a great group, this next generation of talent that's chosen to come into our field, that we can actually remove the blind spot and reach out and do some kind of a virtual internship. I fully expect them to teach us things on how to operate this way. They're already using Slack and Jira and all this. They're all in school online now. And so that was kind of the realization for me, that I was a little bit too self-centered and focusing, you know, maybe too tactically, and forgot the broader community and my opportunity and obligation to reach out.
You know, we thank you, Rusty. We have an ongoing internship program. We're constantly hiring interns as they cycle through when they graduate. I think we have about 8 to 10 right now on board, and actually all of them are working brilliantly virtually. And it's amazing to watch you're right, their contribution is unbelievable, and the experience is unparalleled because they see the whole war room or situation room when I invite them in to our daily stand-up calls. So thanks, Rusty. And Rusty, you're nominated for the top 2021 tech leader that matters in our world. So thank you very much for all your dedication and engagement over the years. It's been awesome. Neelu, back to you. When you think about, I mean, again, a great opening remarks there, Neelu, when you think about the next like 30, 60, 90 days, what's on your radar screen as you look at navigating, looking forward?
Absolutely. I think as we are moving out of striving to thriving, next 90 days is all about really start turning into how to thrive in this world. World is going to be different. Our personal lives will be different. Our working relationships will be different. What is expected in the professional world, the new norms, so many new norms that are coming in will be different. So how do we thrive, right? How do we prepare ourselves for the next unfortunate situation that we all dealt with? There will be, unfortunately, more of those. So how do we stay ahead of that curve? Be prepared, continuity, business continuity, and all those thought processes are there. But I think thriving in the new channels, new innovation, all of that, you know, how do we start to think about? So 90 days is going to be an interesting norm. I think we have gotten out of that unfortunate fear that we were dealing with. People have accepted this, but personally, Hunter, as well, it's been very interesting to watch personally how we are juggling as a woman, as a, you know, work-life balance. There is no work-life balance. Everything has just merged in. Be able to do so many things differently. I am doing my yoga stretches within the conference calls. No one knows that. I'm on audio. Be able to bring that in. I'm able to, there's no food coming out. There's no takeout. And in between the calls, turning on my Instapot, and that's happening. And be able to keep an eye on my son who is doing homeschooling. Be able to keep an eye on the text, and so be able to talk to individuals like a great group of people here. And yesterday I just spoke to an individual from financial industry who is dealing with a tough time. So in other words, next 90 days are going to be a completely different new norm. We as leaders have the full accountability to drive it from the front, take it as an opportunity, and really create a new level of personal empathy and personal attachment, as Rusty touched upon. Each one of us has that accountability, not within our families, within our companies, but within the industry. So continue to drive it from the front and be the leader that we always envision to be.
Really well said, Neelu. Thank you. We saw this unfolding over the past month, and I was at a summit about 4 weeks ago. I said to the audience, I think what got you here today is not what you're going to need going forward. Once we walk through today in this envelope going forward, it's going to take a different thought process, different leadership, innovation, management skills, business continuity, ideas, and so forth, and a different DNA wiring to successfully navigate going forward. And I think each of you individually have brilliantly shared that path over the past 30 days, and that it was a process of awareness, denial, an opening up, a recognition, for me, a shock of how broad and deep, and then leaning into it, Neelu, just like you did there, saying, okay, we're gonna strive, and now we're gonna thrive, and doing that with a level of awareness and openness and humility, not to offend people as they're going through their own personal journey, because everyone is in their own spot, right? Right. So we have about 8 minutes left, folks. I wanted to open it up to questions from our attendees. Kevin Chris writes, how much effort is going into longer term scenarios versus short-term responses to shifting information? Of course, Kevin, great strategic question. Who wants to take that?
I mean, I'll just take a quick stab. I want to say our CFO was looking pretty far out on the cash flow pretty early on, worried about what that was going to look like. But from our perspective, and I mentioned this earlier, we're trying to transition and digitally transform into a new business model, new way of interacting with our customers. And so in our case, the short-term response is also the long-term response. And if you can get yourself in that situation, that's probably the best place to be.
Excellent.
Yeah, Hunter, I think we're doing a few things. We're actually taking a look at the current metrics daily, right? So there's a lot of things we're paying attention to. We're doing kind of an after action report real time. So we're having a session tomorrow for 2 hours to go through the decisions we've made and kind of see how they will sustain us for the next 3 months if necessary. And then in addition, we're also taking a look and we're understanding more around what we're calling our key operational impacts. So there's high velocity, high touch processes we have in our industry that we sometimes take for granted, but when you're doing them virtually, you may run into some latency from a turnaround time standpoint. For instance, if it takes us 21 minutes to process a claim today in insurance, it may take 25 or 27 minutes. And we're able to kind of absorb that. It doesn't really impact anybody, but we're trying to simulate, if you were to model this out for 3 months or 6 months, when does that extra 7 minutes start to catch up to you and start to break that process? So we know where our cliff is. So we have to make a different decision around working arrangements. So we're looking at those critical processes and doing some simulations internally, just so we can inform the business before the business informs us around potential incidents or issues that's going to impact their vitality.
Thanks, Chris. It must be quite a process of managing across 50 states. Another question comes in: what are you doing state by state? Because you're obviously you have to deal by different regulations by state, right?
Yeah, so there's a few processes that we're fortunate that there's some states that are capable of managing all 50 states. So we've got large centers, and the city of Dallas and the state of Texas is one of those states that's able to service the entire U.S. So we've got a very large center here that's thriving, even in a remote fashion. And I'll tell you, the one thing, Hunter, that we're really starting to worry about here, we're doing some simulations on, is for us, this is cat season. Cat is our catastrophe season, right? You're going to start to see hurricanes, tornadoes come through Texas, Oklahoma areas. This is a high peak period for us for a lot of incidents to come through from a customer standpoint. So we're now modeling, how do we do that? How do we get basic logistics like hotels, rental cars, airfares? Because we will tend to deploy anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 agents into the field, into the area that's impacted, to make sure we're on the front line for our customers. And we've got to find a way to do that and do it a little bit differently, because all the traditional options may not be available to us.
Excellent. Love it. Lanu, we've got 5 minutes left. Closing comments?
Hunter, I would say that every time I've spoken with any CIO, everyone individually has said they want to be the business leader. They want to be treated as a business leader as opposed to the technology leader. The time is now, Hunter. Each one of us can act and be the business leader we always aspire to be, to move the needle, to make an impact, to bring the revenues that we never thought was possible, but be the leaders where we are leading from within, making an impact and touching the talent, making an impact and keeping the people in the center of it. But this is the time. Technology is at a very good place. And as leaders, we just need to continue to embark on this journey.
Incredibly well stated, and I'm really impressed, Lanu. I want to recognize you as a nominee for the top 2021 recognition of HMG as well. All four of you really blew me away today. Perhaps the best ever digital panel we pulled together here in our very short history. Rusty, final comments?
Yeah, and I think you've heard it from other panelists today, is that, we have this great opportunity to be the example. Like it or not, you got it. And I think, how you treat others, how you respond to the unknown, to ambiguity, to anything, these threats to our business, remain positive and lean into it, is to use your term, Hunter, but just get after it. I mean, it's if you're not, even now, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. You need to get your downtime, like everyone said, but I think get into it, lean in now. And I think that energy will be felt by the rest of your team and your peers.
Being positive, right, Rusty, and winning matters. And most importantly, building a winning team matters, right?
Right. I think I've said this for a long time, and, in the ham and egg breakfast, the chicken's only involved, but the pig's committed. I've got a no chicken rule. So it's a commit.
Excellent. Love it. I love it. Great. Chris, final comments?
Yeah, Hunter, thanks again. I think just the fact that you're pulling this forum together and keeping a community like this interacting is a testament to leading in a crisis like this, and making sure your network, quite frankly, Hunter, that you help us establish with all of the people that are part of HMG is a critical asset for us during this period of time. And I know I've leveraged it. I've reached out to people when I didn't have the answer, or when I thought I had the answer and I needed validation. And the community has just come back and either validated or given me an alternative point of view. So thank you, Hunter, for that network and that ability. And I really encourage everybody to use it now more than ever.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We've been great friends for over a decade, I think. Nellson, final word, please.
All right. So the owner of the Mavericks, Mark Cuban, was quoted a couple days ago as saying that corporations and companies' responses, specifically to their employees during this time, will affect their reputation for years to come. I think it's a true statement and a good partial closing thought. And the last closing thought is just communicate. You've got to be consistent. You're going to have to be repetitive with everybody not in the same physical area. You're going to have to, just step up your communication game and figure out a different way to do it. And that comes from consistency and repetitiveness.
Excellent, guys. Gentlemen, great program, Neelu. Phenomenal presentation of thought leadership. We have 1 minute, just closing comments from my point of view. We've had to reimagine and reinvent our company in the past 30 days. Fortunately, we are not letting a good crisis go to waste. We agree with that statement. This was a business plan that I had figured out 5 years ago that we knew we could pivot digitally. We're going to launch the HMG Marketplace, where in the context of a virtual summit, like if you were in a real summit, physical summit, you would walk over to the partner area and visit with our partners. We're going to hope that people will visit our virtual portal and look at the various thought leadership and services from Nutanix, from Zoom. And if you have an interest, basically click on an RFI looking for more information. And so that's a way for us as we pivot the commercial model for us into the future. Everyone within a digital summit, whether it's a digital summit like this or in Dallas, hopefully it's a physical summit. If it's not, a hybrid summit in July, we'll see, time will tell. But excited about the next journey up and the next leg up with you all. And I think we're ideally positioned in the marketplace to help you lead, innovate, transform, reimagine, reinvent, inspire you to be world-class like you all are already. But constantly, we all need a great coach, a great platform to inspire us and to push us forward. And I think I know I've invested a lot in time and energy in building out the initiatives, the ideas, and the platform to give you guys an opportunity to exhibit your thought leadership on a global platform. Technically, we could do this on a global basis. This could have been a global summit, right? So looking forward to seeing you in July. And again, thank you very much, everyone. The attendees, the HMG team, Nikki, great job. August, great job. Melissa, great job in the HMG team and the panelists. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Hunter.
Thank you, Hunter.